10 insane celebrity homes. Number 10. Kim Ye. Best known by their one-name moniker, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are one of the most famous celebrity couples on the planet. Is it any surprise that they live in a home that most of us could only dream of spending even one night in? Though the couple has been in the news for negative reasons as of late, Kim being robbed and Kanye for having some supposed mental breakdown, at least they have a palace in which to spend their idle time. The couple purchased this massive Hidden Hills abode for $20 million, but weren't entirely satisfied with it, so they renovated the place. Now the 5-acre property, or tiny town, reportedly includes a 2-story playroom in case a 1-story room fully devoted to children wasn't enough, a full-size movie theater, a gym, and a basketball court. No rap mogul's house is complete without a sound studio, and of course, Kim had to have a full spa on site, so those were built as well. They even bought their neighbor's property to make room for all of the additions they wanted. North and St. West are either the most fortunate or the most soulless children on the planet. Number 9. Donald Trump. Trump and his wife Melania may not be staying at their $100 million 66th floor penthouse in Trump Tower, New York, as much now as they will be taking up residence at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for the next 4 years. While the White House is lovely, Trump has plenty of reasons to not want to move out of his Big Apple residence. The ridiculous apartment is 3 stories whose walls, floors, and columns are covered in marble. The platters, vases, and furniture are accented with gold. Greek statues and art dominate the interior, as well as flattening, grandiose portraits of Trump and his family. Residing so high up means that the penthouse is witness to an amazing view of the city, specifically Central Park and the Manhattan skyline. Hopefully, the president won't be thinking too much about his lavish digs while he's busy with his new job. Number 8. Sinatra's Paradise. In a nod to his character in the movie From Here to Eternity, Sinatra named this property in Palm Desert, California, Via Maggio. The property is 7.5 acres and features 3 buildings that have a combined total of 8 bedrooms, 3 kitchens, 9 fireplaces, and 12.5 bathrooms. The property also includes a lighted tennis court and a helipad. Sinatra commissioned the property in the 1960s as a place to get away from the hustle and bustle of being a celebrity. Sitting over 4,000 feet above the Coachella Valley, Old Blue Eyes picked a good spot to suit his needs. The entertainers passed away in 1998, and the second owners currently have the house for sale at a price of just under $4 million. Number 7. Lil Wayne. Weezy has been trying to sell his Miami Beach property for 2 years now without success. He lowered the price over the course of 2016 from $18 million to $12 million. Celebrities often find it difficult to sell their homes, especially if they have made modifications to suit their specific tastes. The rapper's house is 15,101 square feet, has 9 bedrooms and bathrooms, a professional recording studio, movie theater, and a rooftop skate park. The beautiful open interior home sits on the water in Miami Beach. In August of 2016, a prankster called the cops saying that someone had been shot and was bleeding at the home. Police arrived to find Lil Wayne asleep, and after finding nothing in the home, left without further incident. It was the second time such an incident has happened since Wayne purchased the house, and could be why he seems so desperate to sell the place. Number 6. Ashton and Mila. The couple made famous by co-starring in That 70s Show has enjoyed the fruits of their labor. With a daughter on the way, the couple purchased this $10 million home on April 1st, 2014 that is stupider than Kutcher's That 70s Show character. The house is on a private street in a gated community in Beverly Hills that is well away from paparazzi. The home is 7,300 square feet and has 3 huge bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Admittedly, its dimensions are slightly dwarfed by the other insane pads on this list, but when's the last time you saw either of these people in a good movie? Number 5. Enya. When you look at the fact that Enya has sold more records than One Direction and calls Bono her neighbor, you would assume that the Irish singer has a pretty insane lifestyle. And you would be right, though not in the ways you might imagine. Despite being world famous, the singer has only been spotted in public a handful of times in the last decade, and apparently men find her dark and challenging. She lives in a small castle in Ireland as a recluse. Apparently, her only constant company is cats, a lot of cats that live on the property. When she moved in the late 90s, Enya had the entire house redone. Her bedroom opens to the Irish Sea, and she has incredible views of the Wicklow Mountains on one side and the Dalkey Islands on the other. Her music and successes are unique and will never happen again. Based off her living situation, she could also be called the world's wealthiest cat lady. Number 4. Howard Stern. $200,000 for hurricane shutters? $10 million on renovations alone? No problem for the most successful radio personality of all time. Stern reportedly spent $52 million to purchase this insane mansion in Palm Beach, Florida in early 2013 and had those refurbishments done in early 2016. The specialty shutters weren't cheap, and so, as you might guess, they are very heavy duty and able to withstand winds and debris impact of up to 276 miles per hour. They are also remote controlled and cover every one of the house's many windows. The home itself itself is even more remarkable. The mansion boasts 12.5 bathrooms, in case the first 12 are taken, 5 bedrooms, and sprawls over 19,000 feet across the Florida beachfront. Number 3. Dwayne Wade and Gabby Union. Dwayne Wade is a star guard for the Chicago Bulls. Gabrielle Union is a very well-known actress. The couple is, by all accounts, very happy together, and with salaries that could afford them cribs like this, who could blame them? The ecstatic couple got married on August 30th, 2014, and leased this ridiculous castle for the occasion. The house was priced at $10.9 million before it was delisted shortly before the wedding. The property was built by architect Charles Seeger for himself and includes a giant landlocked moat and formal gardens that surround the property. Number 2. Bill Gates. Though the richest man in the world is known as a charitable man who spends his money frugally, he opened his wallet a little bit to build his dream home. The home cost a record-setting $63 million to build and took 7 years to complete. The property lies in the hills of Medina, Washington, and is surrounded by nature. The estate has a variety of garages, including an underground cave that can hold 10 cars, 6 kitchens tended by a 24-hour on-call chef, a 1,500 square foot theater, a 2,100 square foot private library, and a massive aquarium. This home is incredible. But of course, it's not the only property the billionaire owns on the West Coast. He also bought a ranch in California for $18 million that has a private racetrack. Number 1. Mukesh Ambani. Ambani is no celebrity. He's the chairman of Reliance Industries, a gigantic conglomerate holding company in India. But he is a billionaire and had this crazy pad built in South Mumbai that is valued at around $1 billion, making it the most expensive private residential property on the planet. The 27-story property, called Antilia, and its unique design have been a part of the Mumbai skyline since being completed in 2010. The extravagant home's location in a destitute area of Mumbai is extremely controversial. The property has 6 floors of underground parking, 3 helipads, and a total interior space of over 400,000 square feet. The crib also features 9 high-speed elevators, a 2-story health center, and 6 floors for Ambani and his family. An entire floor is dedicated to servicing Ambani's stable of cars.
Hello and welcome to this week's Property News Update. Nicola McDougall from Bricks and Mortar Media will join me in just a moment, and we will have a look at these stories. Welfare groups firing back at a scare campaign. Negative equity grows in the US. From vertical gardens to high-rise forests, and Hong Kong is set to boom over the next decade. And, oh my sweet Lord, have a look at this place. As well as all that, we're going to give you 2 of our classics building stuff-ups and why women live longer than men. We will also take you inside what we're calling an octopus's bathroom. Back in just a moment. Hello to Nicola McDougall from Bricks and Mortar Media. Hello, Nicola.
Hello, Kevin, my friend. Good to see you as always.
Great to see you too. We've got a great cross-section of stories. Let's kick off with the first one. This one comes from the New Daily. Welfare groups slam negative gearing scare campaign. The story here, Nicola, of course, as we head into the election and the election on tomorrow, welfare groups have slammed a scare campaign by real estate agents across Australia who are warning tenants about Labor's negative gearing policy and how it'll send rents soaring and lift the unemployment rate. Now, you know, one wonders where the balance comes in here. I know that the Institute of Australia have really come out very hard. We've spoken to Tim from the Institute. We've had him on our shows, and you know, and I think rightly so. They've been quite vocal over the last few months about the impact of this if Labor do win. Nicola?
Well, and rightly so, Kevin. Each industry body is entitled to represent its members' interests when bad policy is announced and potentially, you know, could have a detrimental impact to the livelihoods of the hundreds of thousands of people that are employed directly or indirectly in the property sector. So obviously very emotive issue leading into the election, as housing is an emotive subject anyway. So we are seeing 2 very strong opinions on one side or the other of Labor's policy to restrict negative gearing.
Yeah, I just want to play the video now that the Institute did put out. It only runs a matter of 30 seconds or 60 seconds or something, but it'll explain to you what the welfare groups are objecting to. Here's the video. Yeah, I think it sort of describes it, Nicola, quite well, expresses the concerns there. And as you said rightly, everyone has a right to their own opinion. But, I guess only time will tell. Last time Labor did anything like this, they had to, reverse it. Only a matter of, I think it was about 12 or 18 months after they brought it in.
That's the thing, Kevin, and it is unfortunate that, in a way, when that happened in the 1980s, that it didn't roll for a bit longer. So we actually did have a greater data set to understand what happened last time, because since that point, when this has come up, there's been a lot of conjecture about whether that was caused, the issues with the market back then was caused by the removal of negative gearing or not.
Yeah.
It is the great unknown. But
I was also interested to see, Nicola, sorry to cut you off there, but
the
Master Builders Association, who you would think would be in support of this because, what's exempt are new builds, but even they're saying that it's going to have a dramatic impact on the construction sector. So I can't really see much good coming out of this, but I guess time will tell, won't it?
Well, indeed, and I think, as someone who's been part of the campaign on behalf of the Property Investment Professionals of Australia, as a professional who is employed, fundamentally in the real estate sector, such as yourself, Kevin, we are very concerned about the potential impact on property prices. We do believe that investors will reduce in numbers quite greatly, which therefore, if we have a smaller supply of rental properties, then simple economics tells us that rents will increase. We can only hope that, if Labor was to win power tomorrow, that perhaps they have a moment to have a second think about their policy, and perhaps they still have to get it through the Senate anyway. So I don't think, regardless of whether they do win tomorrow or not, I certainly don't think it's a done deal. And
I do think, trying to sit on the fence here too, and I don't want to dwell too long on this, but everyone has the right to their opinion, and if if the Australian public agree with what Labor want to do, then we've got to go with it and roll with the punches. So, hey, we're going to come back with story number 2 in just a moment. Before we do, I just want to remind you that Real Estate Talk show number 358 is out tomorrow. How the new generation see the market. Sydney suburbs likely to be hit the hardest. That's a follow-on from the story we were just talking about. Buyers more confident of being able to buy. That's an interesting story. And the useless property data. Simon Presley pulls no punches on that one, let me tell you. And buying property in the UK, what's involved? An interesting story with a great mix of guests, and that's coming out tomorrow. That is Real Estate Talk. Okay, we'll go to story number 2, Nicola. This one comes from the World Property Journal. Negative equity grows in the US at the end of the first quarter of this year. More than 5.2 million US properties were seriously underwater, what's called underwater, which is negative equity. In other words, worth less now than what they paid for it. Which brings about lots of issues on loans and payouts. And it's different in the States too, because it's simply a matter of handing the keys back and you walk away, no recourse. It says here at least 25% higher than the property estimated market value. And that's up by more than 17,000 properties from 1 year ago. So increasing hard times in the US, Nicola.
Well, exactly, and a sign, I guess, of any market where the market has, reduced in value somewhat, and people have bought relatively recently. Some bright spots in that story, though, Kevin, where those numbers of underwater properties are far less than what they were during the GFC. So things still in America much better than they were a few years ago. But I've always thought that that was, you know, I always thought the system over there is very interesting, that you can just hand the keys back. And as we all know, you know, that was part of the problem that we all had to experience some 10 years ago now.
Yeah, well, as we can always say, there's always a silver lining, isn't there? And it's going to make it more affordable for people to buy, I guess. But that's looking on the other side. I want to go to story number 3 now, and this one comes to us from Design Boom, from vertical gardens to high-rise forests. Have a look at this. We'll try and get a couple of the images up. The aptly named Sunflower Tower is inspired by the formations of sunflower seeds and petals. You can see that on the design. This almost is a bit retro for me. I think it looks very Art Deco, and because I'm not really up on design, but what would you think, Nicola?
I think this is glorious, and I love the inclusion of the story because I adore sunflowers. They are my favourite flower.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, and I have many of them in the garden here, and I have grown them for many times, and my partner grows them for me, so I love the concept.
Aren't they wonderful flowers too? They're the ones on the big tall stalks, aren't they?
You can get a number of different varieties, actually. Yeah. So I do know them quite well.
Do they actually follow the sun?
Yeah, well, yes, they do. Yeah, and they also. I think the point is here, and I love this story because it's all about the creation of vertical gardens,
mini
vertical
forests.
ecosystems in our built environments. And I think this was actually in Ecuador or somewhere quite interesting like that, where, and I would love to at least perhaps not buy one of them, but be in one of these apartments where you have that beautiful greenery. And I love the concept about recognizing that these, you know, our city spaces can be quite sterile, and we are seeing this in different ways in many countries around the world, in many cities, where we are seeing those, you know, those vertical gardens that hopefully are maintained after the building has been constructed.
Yeah, I wonder about that. I wonder about that. Who's responsible?
Yeah,
who's responsible for the maintenance of these? I would imagine it would have to be the unit holders, wouldn't it?
Well, one would presume that would be classed as a body corporate or owner's corporation function going forward, since it's on the outside of the building. Unfortunately, we have seen instances where, you know, the idea or the design that is put forward in the marketing for these vertical gardens is not quite borne out by the reality. But I just love this story, and I love the fact that it is based on a sunflower, which to me is one of, is the most beautiful flower in the world.
A lovely story, and a really nice looking tower too. Hey, our story of why women live longer than men is a feature that's becoming quite popular in the show, I've got to say. And have a look at this guy, would you? Inside one of those tree muncher things where you put big chunks of tree and it just munches it up into chip. You'd be crazy. Obviously the thing is not turned on, Nicola, but wow, I don't think I'd take that risk.
Whenever we do this segment, Kevin, I literally am gobsmacked. I literally don't have anything to say as a woman, because it is just clearly obvious the answer to the question that you always pose, which is why do women live longer than men? But I wondered when I saw this photo, I guess you have to clean it somehow, right?
Oh yeah, but you take it apart. So you just certainly hope you would unhook it. You would unplug it and you would pull it apart to clean it. You know what I find interesting is to imagine what the people are saying. Like, what's that guy in the yellow hat saying, you know, as he's watching him? What are you doing?
I think that unfortunately that would be relatively common, but I have yet to hear of someone who's, you know, wood chipped themselves on purpose.
Well, actually, there was a murder recently in Australia where whatever, you know, when they committed the murder, I understand, allegedly they put the person through a wood chipper.
Hence my point about doing it to yourself on purpose.
Yes, well, fair enough. Okay, well, this guy clearly, I mean, imagine unclogging it, then all of a sudden the thing starts again.
I don't even want to.
No, I don't want to think about it. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in just a moment, Nicola, McDougall and I, and we're going to take you to Hong Kong, where they're predicting a boom over the next 10 years. Back in just a moment.
Tall people. Constantly making the world a better place.
There you go.
And how does the world reward you? Stretch out with up to 40% more legroom in Economy X on Virgin Australia.
Welcome back to the show. We take you to Hong Kong now, and we have a look at a story out of the South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's median house price is going to keep spiralling upwards for the next 10 years, they're predicting, because demand for properties is going to outpace supply. Always the story, Nicola, supply and demand. But they've got an annual shortage in Hong Kong of about 15,000 homes every year. But I think, the shortage even in Australia and in some of the states of Australia can equal that as well, Nicola.
Well, exactly, and that as a percentage is far greater than it would be in Hong Kong, where is the population about 70 million, I think, or something along those lines. Interesting in this, Hong Kong, the undisputed number one most expensive city in the world. So,
have you had a chance to check up on the median in Hong Kong?
Well, I did a little bit of research, and they do a per square foot calculation. So as those of us who use the metric system, I did though. Thanks for asking, Kevin.
Oh, good.
I did do a wee bit of calculations and converted Hong Kong dollars to Australian dollars.
And what'd you come up with?
Also feet to square meters.
Oh,
so
goodness.
I'm
You've done
good.
your homework.
It's around about 800,000 Australian dollars. However, the median, whatever. However, the example they gave in the story, that is respective of 40 square meters.
Oh, okay. So very small. Very small. For
there was an example that they talked
Wow.
about the average type of unit or the average property in the story. And that was the calculations that I came up with, about 800,000 Australian for 40 square meters. So clearly very small. Interesting also in the story talking about the difference between local demand and non-local demand.
Oh, as in foreign buyers, you mean?
Yes. So I think that's a key part of the story.
Okay, it looks like we've lost your signal there just for a minute, Nicola, but we'll keep going. I want to go to the next story. Yep, now you're back. Good, gotcha. Don't you love the NBN? Fantastic, isn't it?
I know, right?
Yeah.
I've just got NBN, and I think it might be worse than normal.
Let's not go there. Hey, I love this next story. This is our final story. We do actually have another little feature for you, building stuff up. So that's coming in just a moment. But oh my sweet Lord, have a look at this place. And this obviously has a link to George Harrison and the Beatles. So I'm going to be a little bit self-indulgent here. Play My Sweet Lord. Just give us a bit of it now.
I think you should just talk about this story, Kevin, because the
this.
Beatles are a bit before my time. But
really?
I think you just go.
Oh, come on. That's timeless music. Listen to it. It is just spectacular. Okay.
I know I like the music, but
Yeah, but you'd know this song, wouldn't you? My Sweet Lord?
don't think so.
Oh, you're kidding me. This is a classic. Anyway, okay. Well, moving right. Cut the song. California hotspot Venice Beach has drawn celebrity surfers, bohemians, and even sun worshippers. But now...
Sounds like me.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it, Vic? Could be the Sunshine Coast. A recent addition to the Venice market is sophisticated home of the son of Beatles guitarist George Harrison, priced for $3.99 million. Interesting place. This started out as a very sedate little seaside resort town. Today, it's a whirlwind of activity. But don't you often see this? There's some of those coastal communities that start out as little sleepy places and they just develop.
Well, I think in answer to that question, the prime example of that, which has been in the media a wee bit the last week, would be Byron Bay, which started out as a very small place, and I used to visit there quite a lot up until probably around about 10 years ago when it got a bit hectic, and recently, as we probably know, was named the most expensive city in Australia. So it lots of these places around the world, and it's one of those oddities of human nature where we find something and then generally love it to death.
Didn't Hogues move there to
I think at some stage, obviously now it's the Hemsworth effect and the Matt Damon effect and lots of other things, but I
wonder how that
I think he did own that beach hotel for a while.
Yeah, that's right. I think they did. I think what's his name? Strop. Strop? Yeah. How's that Hemsworth house going? Do you know we should check in
It
on
must
that?
be nearly finished.
Yeah.
I've been keeping an eye on it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it looks like, actually, because the publicity around it has been a little negative, which is not deserved in my opinion, as you know. But he's certainly keeping the local economy going, and I think it must be
Pretty
closer
close.
to the end than the beginning.
Well, you'd be going to the housewarming, so hopefully you can shoot a bit of video while you're there for us.
Yeah, I'll just get my agent to call his agent.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, it's Nicola here. Hey, before we leave you, I want to take you into the octopus's bathroom. The reason I called it this is because have a look at these knobs. This is probably not a classic building stuff up, but it's just a house that's obviously been maybe updated a bit. But why would you need 5 tap controls, really? And which one would you use? Ah, you've got the octopus there.
Because you might have an octopus that needs to use it.
Where do you use that? What's that?
It's a toy.
Oh, okay. It's a little soft toy, a little
It's a
rubbery
little
thing,
soft
is it?
toy.
Oh, that's
A
cute.
little odd, but yes, there's a thing with octopuses in this house.
Oh, really?
Yes, my partner loves octopuses.
Do you have a bathroom like this one?
No, we don't. We just have the standard one mixer tap, but I'm not too sure why you would. Like you say, obviously they just haven't bothered to, I don't know.
Oh, well, just
Maybe
why disconnect them? Just whack another one in.
Exactly. Or, maybe some people like to have showers with more than one person in there. So
Yeah, but why would you wouldn't need a knob for each person. Let's leave it at that, hey? Let's leave it right there. Hey, I'm going to leave you with all your octopuses. What do you call more than one octopus? An octopi?
Indeed.
You do? Yeah, good. Okay, move on. Talk to you in a couple of weeks' time, my friend.
Always very good. Thank you.
It's very
Kevin.
entertaining. Always talking to you. Thank you. Nicola McDougall from Bricks and Mortar Media. I'm Kevin Turner. Thank you for being with us. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will catch you again next week at the same time. Don't forget, Real Estate Talk is out tomorrow. See you next week.
Billed as the fastest way to cross the surface of the Earth, Hyperloop represents the greatest leap in transport infrastructure for generations. With passengers sitting in pods that travel at airline speed through pressurized tubes, using electric propulsion and magnetic levitation, the concept promises to slash journey times between major cities from several hours to a matter of minutes. Whilst it may feel like science fiction, Hyperloop is now on the cusp of becoming a reality. This is the story behind the concept that's about to revolutionize our world. Hyperloop was first conceived in 2012 by Tesla and SpaceX founder Elon Musk. In a white paper released the following year, Musk set out his vision for a futuristic, super high-speed transportation system that would see passenger pods move through a partial vacuum in steel tubes, addressing the 2 key factors that slow down conventional vehicles: friction and air resistance. Exploring a potential route between Los Angeles and San Francisco, Musk believed that his concept could slash the 8-hour bus ride, 4-hour train journey, and convoluted 3-hour air travel experience between the 2 cities to just 30 minutes. Under Musk's first Hyperloop proposal, he suggested that compression fans would move air around the passenger pods to minimise drag and create air bearings beneath them, floating them off the surface of the tubes. It should be noted that Musk's early Hyperloop concept is not a million miles away from Isambard Kingdom Brunel's atmospheric railway that ran between Exeter and Plymouth in the UK from 1847 to 1848. That system moved carriages with pressurised air. The air was extracted from a pipe that ran between the rails by pumping stations situated roughly every 3 miles along the route, creating a vacuum. A piston contained within this pipe was connected to the train, which pulled it forward. Despite its initial success, the leather flaps that made the vacuum pipes airtight soon began to fail, causing air to leak from the system, and Brunel's railway was abandoned. With an estimated price tag close to $6 billion, Musk's first Hyperloop concept never came to fruition. But the impressive idea and potential to link cities in such a direct way sparked intense interest. From inception, Musk had always stated that the concept of Hyperloop would be open source, and he actively encouraged others to come together and develop the necessary technology independently from his involvement. This led to the formation of several startups and student teams developing various aspects of Hyperloop technology with varying degrees of success. Now, several fully fledged companies are making significant strides to bring Hyperloop systems into reality. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, or HTT, are making aggressive advancements and recently constructed a full-scale test track in France. But the clear leaders of the pack in the current standings are Virgin Hyperloop One. Virgin Hyperloop One are on track to achieve their bold ambition of bringing a Hyperloop system into operation by 2021. Originally formed in 2014 as Hyperloop One, the company was rebranded following a significant investment from Sir Richard Branson in 2017. Deviating slightly from Musk's original plan, Virgin Hyperloop One's technology combines two basic principles. The first is magnetic levitation, or maglev, a technology already used in monorails to lift the passenger pods and move them along their rails. Magnetic levitation uses two sets of magnets, one to repel the train from the track and lift it upwards, and the other to move the floating train along the track at considerable speed with reduced friction. The second principle is the use of a low-pressure, vacuum-sealed environment for the passenger pods to travel through. By removing most of the air from the tubes and having no contact with the ground, the pods face little to no resistance as they move. Air pressures inside the tube are equivalent to flying 200,000 feet above sea level. Such an environment enables the pods to reach speeds of over 760 miles per hour using very little energy. By virtue of being in a tube, the system is protected from the weather and can operate in almost any climatic conditions. Virgin Hyperloop One's system is controlled by advanced software that ensures acceleration and deceleration occur gradually, going relatively unnoticed by those travelling inside. Having built a 500-metre track in the Nevada desert, Virgin Hyperloop One have carried out several tests, focusing on individual aspects of the system, and a complete full-scale systems test in May 2017. The propulsion, braking, levitation and vacuum systems are all performing well, and the team have achieved a top speed of over 240 miles per hour to date. To inform their plans for developing a fully operational network that is affordable for all, Virgin Hyperloop One launched a global challenge to find the routes best placed to benefit from Hyperloop technology. With over 2,600 entries, the field was reduced to just 35 potential locations, with each entry enjoying strong support from governments and urban planners. With 10 winners across 5 countries, Virgin Hyperloop One are now working in partnership with each of the locations on how best to deliver the Hyperloop technologies in live networks. In February 2018, the firm unveiled their first prototype passenger pods for the Dubai to Abu Dhabi route, a network that would drastically slash the car travel time between the two cities from 2 hours to just 12 minutes. The advantages of Hyperloop are considerable. Like train stations, Hyperloop stations, called portals, are planned to be located within inner-city areas with easy links to existing transport infrastructure. This gives Hyperloop systems a distinct advantage over air travel, where airports tend to be located beyond city limits with fewer accessibility options. Additionally, the system is being developed to function on a turn-up-and-go principle, without a lengthy check-in process, and with accelerated, advanced security checks. Another clear benefit is its speed. If Hyperloop could significantly reduce the travel time between cities, it could be possible to live in a completely different city or part of the country from where you work, with a commute no dissimilar in length to the one you perhaps take today. This opens up a wide range of housing and employment opportunities, with people no longer having to live close to where they work. It could also take pressure off our cities, where infrastructure is often still catching up with development, and where house prices have become unattainable for most. With speeds rivaling aircraft, and 9 of the top 10 busiest air routes in the world being domestic, Hyperloop has the potential to completely revolutionise the way we live, work and travel. A Hyperloop system requires very little energy to propel pods through its tubes, as the vacuum environment poses little resistance. As such, the systems could be powered by renewable technologies such as solar and wind, offering a considerably cleaner alternative to air travel. When you consider the prospect of people being propelled in tubes across the Earth's surface at near supersonic speeds, there are a number of questions that instinctively jump to mind. Perhaps the first is the impact of a potential break or breach in one of the tubes, possibly as the result of an earthquake or external impact. Virgin Hyperloop One explained that they have addressed this by constructing thick steel tubes that are extremely difficult to puncture or break. Additionally, the tubes are engineered to withstand changes in pressure and air leaks while maintaining their structural integrity. Theoretically, a sudden influx of air into one of the tubes would simply slow the pods down due to the increased air resistance. The pods could then be directed to the next portal via an auxiliary power boost. There is also the ability to section off parts of the route and to repressurise sections where significant emergencies occur, and all pods are expected to be fitted with emergency exits. Externally, Hyperloop systems will largely travel on elevated, seismically designed pylons that are able to move and flex independently of one another, minimising damage in the event of a major ground shift. Sensors along the route would instantly report issues to the system's control centre. In answering the natural safety concerns raised, Virgin Hyperloop One also point out that millions of people already travel at high speeds in metal tubes every time they take a flight, and that numerous concerns surrounded the use of jet aircraft when that mode of transportation first came to prevalence. While the idea of Hyperloop may seem far-fetched, when you consider the industrial progress made in the past 200 years, the current rate of technology adoption in our societies, and the significant advances being made by Hyperloop companies around the world, this incredible new transportation system looks set to become part of our everyday lives in the very near future. If you enjoyed this video and would like to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, subscribe to the B1M.